Hey everybody, it's Dr. Cody Rall with Techforpsych. In this video, we're going to take a look at the new Neurosity Crown. This is the third device that this company is putting out, but the first to be manufactured at scale, which is very exciting. They've been able to iterate on their previous designs to bring us this flagship product. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the strengths and weaknesses of design from Neurosity, compare it to their previous device, the Notion 2, and talk with the co-founder Alex Castillo about some exciting current and upcoming projects for the company to include a focus app and a neurofeedback platform. Be sure to watch until the end of the video where Alex offers some job opportunities with the company and a device rental program for the Neurosity Crown. So just to review, Neurosity is the only company that I know of that's actually put in a full-size CPU into their neuro wearable device. The Neurosity Crown, for example, has a 1.8 gigahertz CPU with 1 gigabyte of RAM and is as strong as a MacBook Air. Now that's very impressive, and the reason why they did that is that they looked at previous devices that have been put out that I've talked a lot about on this channel that instead obtain the brain data and send it to either a smartphone or a computer via Bluetooth. Now, Bluetooth is good because it has low latency, meaning that it can get the data out quickly, but it also loses a lot of data. The cool part about the Neurosity series is that they store the data on the actual device itself, so nothing is lost, and then can further transmit the data via Wi-Fi, further preventing any data from being lost. Meaning that if you want to do a brain-computer interface project, you're not going to lose valuable data coming from the brain to make more nuanced control of different devices. Now, the company saw great fanfare for Notion 1 and Notion 2. I've got my Notion 2 right here, and a lot of great projects were done with this device. People were controlling lights with their minds, they were flying drones, guitar wah pedals, even a coffee maker, and it's going to be really exciting now that they're up to scale with the Neurosity Crown to see what other projects people can come up with. Now, the founders, Alex Castillo and A.G. Keller, are both programmers, and they've really designed this hardware and software around programmers in mind. The SDK is open for use, which makes it much easier than a lot of other product lines that I've seen. And also, it's just designed for brain-computer interface projects. We're going to talk to Alex Castillo, who is a co-founder of the company. And Alex had lead positions at Grubhub and Netflix before he came and founded this company, which is really impressive because it's not easy to leave jobs like that and come into a company like this and found it with passion. And A.J. Keller is also a software programmer, and he has a lot of great videos online now on YouTube in which he shows the community, the Neurosity community, how to do programming with the Notion 2 or the Neurosity Crown. We'll have Alex on in the second half of this video where I ask him a lot of questions about how Neurosity Crown differs from Notion 2 and what we can expect from the company moving forward. Now, I reviewed the Notion 2 in a video I put out earlier this year where I did some things like scroll through a screen with my mind, which was fun, and then tested out their Shift into Focus app. Now, both of those functions have been very much improved, so it's very exciting to take a look at those with the Neurosity Crown. But first, I wanted to go through some upgrades of the Neurosity Crown, which is being manufactured at scale. Both Notion 1 and Notion 2 sold out very quickly, so it might have been difficult to get those devices before. But now with the Neurosity Crown, they are actually manufacturing at scale, meaning that if you want one, you can get one. If you order it, you will be able to get one because they're not going to run out of devices anymore. It's also going to be very exciting to see more devices out in the community to see what the developers can actually create with it. I myself am really excited about a platform called Divergence, which is going to be a neurofeedback platform for clinicians and patients. And the Divergence team is doing a great job of creating the software for that platform, and I think it's going to pair up very nicely with Neurosity Crown. And both companies are talking with each other to make the experience the best possible for patients and clinicians. So it should be really awesome, and I'm going to be talking a lot more about it on this channel. Also, be sure to stay tuned towards the end of this video in which we're going to talk about a rental opportunity that is coming up for the Neurosity Crown that could be very beneficial for anybody that wants to try out the device device or rent it for neurofeedback purposes with the Divergence platform. So let's go over some of the new features of the Neurosity Crown before we talk to Alex. As you can see, it's actually a lighter, more ergonomic, and smaller form factor, a little bit smaller. It also has this light on top, which is pretty fun. It'll indicate whether or not it's connected to your smartphone, tablet, or computer. And then it's still got haptic feedback letting you know whether it's connected properly or if the device is actually on. And the haptic feedback means that it vibrates during those things. One of the big improvements with the Neurosity Crown is the sensors. They actually used a more flexible sensor material that lasts up to 10 times longer. So it's a big improvement in comfort and design because they don't need to ship with a bunch of sensors anymore, which was something that they did with the Notion 2. Now, what you'll notice on the Neurosity Crown, if you look closely, is that there are actually 2 new electrodes on this device towards the front, and those actually fit on the back of your head. And the reason why they added those is because researchers were asking for occipital lobe sensors. Now, I'm talking to Dr. Scott Burwell next week, who is actually doing an NIH-funded study using the Neurosity platform for drug addiction, which is really exciting. And what the company got in feedback from researchers like Dr. Burwell is that they wanted electrode sites to represent each lobe of the brain. So you've got all of the brain covered. You've got the frontal, temporal, occipital lobes, parietal lobes. All of those can be picked up with these sensors, which can be very important for research purposes. The Neurosity Crown has a battery that lasts an hour longer, and the device actually has some NFC capabilities, near field communication, meaning that if you have the app pulled up on your phone, you can just tap the Neurosity device and it pairs almost instantly, which is much easier than the previous connections for Notion 1 and Notion 2. I know with Notion 2, I had to connect it to the Wi-Fi and get that to communicate with my smartphone. It was a lot more of a laborious setup process than with the Neurosity Crown. With the Neurosity Crown, it's much easier and faster to do. And it really feels like a top-of-the-line consumer product in terms of speed and ease of use. Not that the Notion 1 and Notion 2 weren't top of the line, but they were a little bit more difficult to use from a general consumer standpoint. I think that programmers could easily figure those things out just because of their technological prowess, but with the Neurosity Crown, it's a lot more geared up and ready for the general population to experience this device. So the SDK is open. They have a ton of resources available for people that want to do program with this device. For the general population, there's some awesome apps. There's Shift into Focus, which I really enjoyed, and I was very surprised. So the Shift into Focus app has this music that gets you into flow state quicker. And the claim is that it actually increases gamma waves in your brain to allow you to get into flow state quicker. And it tracks how quickly you were able to get into flow state and how long you stayed into flow state. And this isn't even the best quality. I couldn't get it to play directly to my Mac computer, so I had to go through a speaker in my microphone. There's some definite binaural beat technology to this that seems to entrance your brainwaves into different frequencies. Now, the metrics on the app are Neurosity metrics, which are interesting, but my feedback would be it'd be cool to be able to actually just see your brainwaves and see how it affected your brainwaves. Because I know there's a lot of people on this channel and a lot of people in the community, for instance, use Mind Monitor with the Muse device. It'd be great to see the actual brainwaves with this device within that app. I might be wrong. Maybe the general population doesn't care about brainwaves, but from the community that I've seen that are the early adopters, we all pretty much want to be seeing our brainwaves and be able to see how it actually is affecting the brainwaves, both to confirm to ourselves that it is doing something and working, and also to educate ourselves in the field of neuroscience. Another major drawback of this device is the price. Okay, $899, that is no small coin for the average consumer when you consider that most of the other devices are anywhere between $300 and $500. So $899 is a big investment. That's why I'm still on the side of, if you want to get a Neurosity Neurosity Crown, buy it as an investment. Like you're actually really going to do something with brain-computer interface, or you really want to use it to shift into focus when you're coding and you're pretty technical. Or you're doing research as a researcher like Dr. Burwell. One thing that is good is that they're coming up with a rental program, and Alex will explain this in the video here. So let's shift into focus on my conversation with Alex, where I asked him all the hard questions about the difference between Neurosity Crown and their previous devices and where Neurosity is going as a company in the near future. Alex, thanks so much for joining me here on Techforpsych. A lot's been going on since we last spoke, so I'm excited to catch up.
Thank you, Cody, and thank you for having me. It's always great talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, since we last spoke, you guys have put out Neurosity Crown. I've got the Neurosity 2 here with the Neurosity Crown, and there's obviously some changes, but would love to hear about what's been going on with Neurosity and how it's going with the Crown so far.
Yeah. Oh, wow. A lot has been going on. So, yeah, we had this problem early on where we couldn't keep up with the demand, right? So AJ and I were building the devices by hand and doing hand assembly. And we knew that we needed to scale at one point. We just didn't expect to have to do it so soon. So the Crown is really the first scaled hardware from Neurosity that we are able to manufacture at scale. Like if you place an order today, like AJ and I, we don't have to lift a finger, it magically appears at your door. So I'm just going to say that was one of the big goals for 2020 and 2021. So yeah, we packed as much computing power as the Notion 2. You still get the 1.8 gigahertz CPU. You still get the 1 gigabyte of RAM, but what you get is slightly smaller form factor that is a bit more ergonomic, has new sensor configuration, new types of sensors, and other technology as well that allows for the experience to be overall just better. So, for example, the electrodes from the Notion 2, they were not flexible. We now have flexible electrodes in the Crown. I actually have a Crown here, so I can show you. But as far as sensors, they're very malleable to the head. So once you put them in, like you can barely feel them. And this lasts also 10 times longer. Or more. So the Notion 2 electrodes you have to replace, if you use it as much as our normal users use the device every day or so, you have to replace them like every month now. You get a full year worth of use with this new electrodes. And then something very important that we just did for this version is that when it comes to the electrode configuration, we feel that having access to all major lobes of the brain was something that was crucial to get the full picture of the brain and not just like the localized part of a recording of a specific part of your head. So we moved 2 of our sensors to the occipital lobe, completing basically now you have electrode contact in the prefrontal, in the parietal lobe, in the motor cortex, in the occipital. So that is something that is super rare that we were able to pull off. And then, we optimized software a lot. We added new capabilities to the operating system. We also added an extra hour battery life. So now the devices last longer than 3 hours. And we also added NFC. So when you get your Crown in the box, you open it up, and then you download the app, and you basically tap the back of the Crown, and via NFC, the same technology that Apple Pay uses, right? Like that tap, you add it to your account like super smoothly.
I know you guys are working with some pretty high-end researchers these days that are using the Neurosity system. Was adding the additional access to the occipital lobe something that a researcher had asked for, or like responding to customer feedback about making sure the whole brain is covered?
Yeah, we heard that the researchers wanted full brain maps, right? We also learned that they wanted to have the more traditional like sampling rate. So we went from 250 to 256. That was also feedback that we got, and it's been really awesome that all the feedback that we are getting in the research community has ended up in making a better consumer product. So that has been our approach so far.
And I noticed on the specs for the Crown, it was mentioning that it has both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities. And I know on the previous versions, one of the interesting parts about it is that it was communicating data through Wi-Fi, so no information was lost. And just to remind the audience, there's a computing unit on these devices that allows for, no data to be lost. Could you talk a little bit about the data and how it's being transmitted with the Crown, how that's similar to previous versions, and if anything's different?
Yeah, so we still guarantee no packet loss. We use Wi-Fi because we learn how important it is to use a wireless protocol that is great for bandwidth and for larger amounts of data. Bluetooth is amazing when it comes to latency. It does has a downside that it can drop packages or packets of data, render your data useless. So the first thing about having a whole computer on the device was to solve signal quality and packet loss. We did that. So yeah, it does have both the Wi-Fi antenna and a Bluetooth antenna. We use Wi-Fi for data transmission. We use Bluetooth for device discovery. So it's very easy for you to be on your phone and find your device wirelessly the first time you open it up, and because we believe that we should launch all of our features to all of our users, we release an operating system update that contains Bluetooth for Notion 2 for device discovery as well. And then we also expose other things to the SDK, right? Like accelerometer data, different types of raw data, whether you want it completely raw or you want it filtered. So it applies to like bandpass and nudges.
And that's what I've noticed that's different about you guys versus some of the other companies is that it seems like the access to the raw data and the SDK is a lot more straightforward, whereas the other companies are kind of more hoarding their data, and it's not as easy to get access to that information.
I mean, it is a brain computer interface. The big challenge is to create a product that is private and secure for a wide audience and give flexibility to the app builders. So the way we figured this out is that since we have a whole operating system, right, and we have all the CPU and RAM on device, we have many ways you can get raw data. The primary way, the best way for like an app that you want to launch for other people to use is to use our JavaScript SDK that gets the data via cloud. So you could have someone using the device in a continent, and if you want to, for example, share, let's say, your focus score with someone that's in another continent, you could do it with no lag. It works great. And then for researchers, we have a mode in that SDK called local mode that skips the cloud, goes through your local Wi-Fi, and that comes with some, UX sacrifices, right? Like if your Wi-Fi is configured in a way, it might not work, right? But we have like the bulletproof way. And then we have as well, like if you want to do like hardcore research and you want to go like LSL, our device supports LSL out of the box, but not LSL that you install on your computer, like LSL running inside the operating system of the Crown, as well as OSC for up and sound control. And there are even like third-party SDKs that now support Crown, for example, BrainFlow. So, just with that, you get access to the data in like Python and R and C++ and even like game engines like Unity and Unreal Engine.
So exciting. I'm so glad that researchers have access to this type of technology before. I spoke to Dr. Scott Burwell pretty recently, who's doing
He's awesome.
addiction research. Yeah, could you talk about the work that he's doing and any other projects that have come across your radar where people are doing research in neuroscience using Neurosity?
Yeah. So Scott has been basically alongside us since the very beginning, day one. He tried, he has like the Notion 1 and then the Notion 2, and he upgraded, now has a Crown. So he has seen like the whole evolution. The reason why he keep getting our devices and why he likes, our product is because, the electrode placement, you don't have to sacrifice like localized data versus more like global data access. Now, like with flexible electrodes, he embraced the web. That's something that I've never seen any researcher like do. He embraced the web. Like he put together a web application that is, if he sends, let's say, to a participant that wants to do data collection, he gets that with no problem, like with no setup, just via web. Traditionally, people have to prepackage applications and send installs or just have a very complicated setup. But imagine like during these times with the pandemic and everything, access to participants and wanting to do remote data collection is very important. So when it comes to his research, he's researching the addiction in opioids. So that's what he's doing. I believe he has gotten some grants. He's made amazing progress. He has a team of developers, which is pretty amazing. And we're super excited to basically see the published research one of these days.
Yeah, very exciting. I know you've been coordinating with a couple other groups too. One of them that comes to mind is Divergence. They're developing a neurofeedback platform. Could you speak to that project as well?
Yeah. Wow, Divergence. Divergence is our latest partner, and I am mind blown of what they've done in just like months, right? They launched a neurofeedback platform, and I don't want you to see platform as like the way it's been thrown around. Like they allow a therapist to basically sign up, use Crowns, right, Neurosity hardware, for them to be able to create protocols on the web and then push them to a mobile app that a patient is using. Like that's pretty incredible. Like if you think about the future of neurofeedback, that's how it's done. It's like you have someone that already did like a brain scan with their devices and understands exactly what areas they want to start treating, right? And then after that, like the software that they've done, it's pretty incredible. And they launch, which is also like pretty exciting. So you should definitely check them out if you're a therapist. They are, I believe, revolutionizing the field of neurofeedback and how they're making an example of how neurofeedback should be done in 2021.
Yeah, I had Dr. Jeffrey Tarrant on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he's one of the advisors for Divergence, and he's been practicing neurofeedback for over 20 years. So I know that they are incorporating in some of his protocols into the system, which is really exciting.
Oh, they have a super solid team. Yeah, for sure. From engineering to on the more, like neurofeedback and their advisors. Yeah, definitely the work that Alex Nee is doing with his team, I think it's going to surprise some people.
Yeah, and Heather as well is contributing a lot.
Yeah.
Any other projects, maybe more towards the brain-computer interface programming side that you're really excited about that people are using the Crown for?
Well, yeah, we actually haven't even had time to announce this, but like we launched our killer app earlier this year. We shipped it with the Crown when we shipped all the batches that had been pre-ordered at the beginning of the year. So I want to talk about that. We launched this this mobile app that allows people to shift into focus. So that when you get in flow, you get in the zone, right? When like the concept of time almost like you're not aware of it, you're only focused on what's going on. You're the most productive. You get things done. All like it would appear that you're like just in autopilot, right? That's what they call flow, or just being in the zone. We've made it so with a mobile app and a Crown, you can cut the amount of time that it takes you to get there by a lot. And the way we're doing this is that we are using music specifically designed by neuroscientists that stimulate your gamma brainwaves. So, you use the app, you go to shift into focus, you get a song that has been selected to sync your brainwaves with gamma that has been, seen to have correlation with productivity and focus. And then, you go, you focus on the music, and by the end, it tells you, but either by how much your focus increase, or if it can be considered a drastic shift. So whether you shifted into focus or not, and a shift is basically a big spike of gamma activity sustained for a specific amount of time, enough to have prolonged effect of a few hours plus. So, when I start my morning, I put the Crown on, I do shift into focus, and then I don't have to basically warm up to get into work. Like I'm already warmed up, so I can get flow in like 5 minutes or less.
And that's exciting because that's an app that people can start engaging with immediately once they get the Crown.
Yeah, people are already using it. From Monday to Friday to shift into focus. Like once they start their workday, that's what we have built in so far, and it's very exciting because, as you can imagine, shifting from one mental state to another one is something that you could consider a superpower, right? And the first superpower that we're offering is the ability just to shift into focus and just get into flow.
Well, I want to congratulate you on the Neurosity Crown. I know you guys have been working for a long time to get to this point where, you can fulfill orders very quickly if people want to experience the Crown. And I know you guys are hiring because you guys are growing. Do you have any information for the audience in case people want to get involved, whether to engage in the Neurosity community or maybe even work for Neurosity?
Oh, absolutely. You should come work for us, or just hang out with us. But if you want to work for us, I just posted a few job openings on the neuroscience side, on the engineering side, and even on the marketing side. Like we're growing the team massively this year. Just go to neurosity.co/jobs. You're going to see the positions. I am guaranteing that every job application that I'm going to get, I'm personally reviewing, and I'm going to give you an answer within 48 hours. So I schedule a call or just tell you, just give you some feedback, right? But we're mostly looking for software engineers. Like if you have experience with React Native and want to help us with a mobile app, if you have experience with operating systems and want to help us extend our operating system, also looking for data scientists, computational neuroscientists, and more. So check that out. And if you just want to be, see what we're up to, the best way, you can just go to neurosity.co/Discord. It's going to link you to our Discord, where you can see what developers are doing these days. Like the other day, just like one of our users, like out of nowhere, just like, hey, by the way, guys, here's an SDK for C++. And I was just like, what? And then like integrations with like Unity and building custom apps and just showing how they're shifting into focus every day. It's a fun channel. So check that out.
I love it. And we have a lot of really smart people watching this channel. So I wouldn't be surprised if you got some good applications.
I'm waiting for it. Come join us. I do mean it. Yeah. I forgot to mention it.
Yeah.
We are about to launch that. Like yesterday I put it together an MVP. we're about to launch a rental program, $100 a month, with a $50 like setup fee, like one-time setup fee. And then we want to give you free hardware upgrades, like new version, like we just replace it with the new version. So $100 a month is what our rental program is going to be. Here's the thing. We know our it's a big down payment if you want to get for the whole device. Like we know that, right? It's like
Right.
as expensive as a phone, right? Like as an iPhone. But we want to lower that barrier. So if doing like the rental thing is something that will help people get access to the device, we want to do that. So we work really hard to be able to put that together. Like it's been like over a year worth of work. And now we're able to like commit to it, and like we have a facility that, you know, would be also doing the fulfillment for that, and we put together like the subscription. So yeah, we just want to help people like lower barriers, so people have a chance of trying this out.
Well, Alex, it was great seeing you again, and I'm really excited for what you guys have in store for us in the future.
Thank you, Cody. Always a pleasure.